In July 2016, Mike Mansholt, a 17-year-old German boy with a passion for exploration, embarked on a promising solo trip to Malta. With extensive travel experience from previous journeys with his father, no one could have predicted that his last message about renting a bicycle to explore the island would mark the beginning of a tragedy. 8 days after losing contact, Mike was found dead at the bottom of the Dingley Cliffs. However, as the investigation progressed, strange details began to surface. A body with no broken bones, despite supposedly falling from a great height. Internal organs mysteriously missing, and his backpack containing documents and electronic devices nowhere to be found. The case of Mike Mansholt quickly shifted from a simple accident to a deeply puzzling mystery. What truly happened on the cliffs of Malta? And why did crucial evidence vanish without explanation? Join me as we uncover the full truth behind Mike Mans's tragedy, a case full of shadows and contradictions yet to be explained. Don't forget to like and subscribe to support the channel. Thank you so much. Mike Mansholt was born on August 20th, 1999 in Odin, Germany. He enjoyed a peaceful childhood in a well-off family. His parents, Bernd and Suzanne, divorced when Mike was young but always gave him unconditional love. Mike lived with his mother and half-sister Maria, while his father remarried and had another son named Daniel. The bond between Mike, Maria, and Daniel was very close. Mike always treated them as trusted companions in life. The adventures he shared with his father fueled his love for travel. Together, they embarked on many memorable journeys, especially a transatlantic voyage that lasted over 700 days. These experiences gave Mike self-reliance and adaptability to any challenge. In July 2016, at age 17, Mike embarked on his first solo trip to Malta, where his girlfriend was attending a language course. This was a summer holiday he greatly anticipated, hoping to spend quality time with her on the beautiful Mediterranean island. On July 8, 2016, Mike arrived in Malta and met his girlfriend in the capital city Valletta. After a few days touring the island, she returned to Germany. Still captivated by Malta's beauty, Mike asked his parents for permission to stay a few more days. He chose the Astra Hotel in Slima, an area famous for bustling shopping centers and diverse restaurants. On the morning of July 18th, security cameras recorded Mike leaving his room at 8:39 a.m. speaking with the receptionist. Nearly 2 hours later, at about 9:55 a.m., he left again carrying a backpack containing a GoPro camera, power bank, ID documents, and some cash. Leaving the hotel, Mike walked to a nearby harbor and rented a mountain bike. He happily sent a voice message to his father saying he planned to cycle around Malta. That was the last time his parents ever heard from him. They assumed he was enjoying his trip and weren't too concerned at first. On July 22nd, Suzanne and her younger sister Maria went to the airport to pick up Mike, but he was not on the flight. A growing sense of unease crept into Suzanne's heart. She repeatedly tried calling Mike, but her calls wouldn't go through. After several failed attempts, she contacted the airline and was told that Mike had never even checked in for his flight back to Germany. Realizing the seriousness of the situation, on the morning of July 23rd, Suzanne decided to report the incident to German police. The German authorities quickly coordinated with Maltese police to begin the search. However, an unexpected truth emerged. The Maltese police had already started looking for Mike on July 20th, after receiving a report from the Astra Hotel manager that he had failed to check out on time. What was even more troubling was that throughout that time, no one from Malta had contacted Mike's family to inform them of the situation, leaving them frustrated and angry. Faced with the urgency, Bernd immediately canceled his trip to Croatia and, together with Mike's younger brother, flew to Malta to search for him. Despite his extreme worry, Bernd tried to stay calm, reassuring himself that perhaps Mike had simply missed his flight or had a problem with his phone. The family remained optimistic, still hoping for Mike's unexpected return. However, the prolonged silence and inability to reach Mike by phone only heightened the tension. As soon as they arrived in Malta, Bernd worked closely with the local police to carry out the search. Authorities scoured all of Malta's islands, checked passenger lists on ferries and domestic flights to ensure Mike had not left the island. Thousands of flyers bearing Mike's photo were distributed everywhere, and every lead, no matter how small, was investigated thoroughly. Meanwhile, back in Germany, Suzanne followed every update on the search with extreme anxiety. Each day she hoped to receive a phone call telling her that her son was safe. On July 24th, Interpol officially joined the investigation, marking an international collaboration between German and Maltese police in the search for Mike. 2 days later, on July 26th, 8 days after Mike went missing, a major breakthrough occurred. Maltese police received an anonymous tip claiming Mike had been spotted at Ringle Cliffs, a location famous for its sheer cliffs, towering 820 feet above the Mediterranean Sea. The site was also close to the ancient Rabat Catacombs, a tourist spot Mike had mentioned when renting his bicycle. Wasting no time, Maltese police immediately dispatched a special search team to Ringle Cliffs. Bernd and Mike's younger brother also rushed to the scene. Upon arrival, they were stunned to see a large presence of journalists and rescue teams working urgently. After several tense hours of searching, sniffer dogs detected suspicious traces near the cliff area. Police asked Bernd and Daniel to stay away from the site to avoid interfering with the investigation. And then the moment everyone dreaded arrived, Mike was found, but he was no longer alive. His body was discovered in a concealed spot at the base of the cliffs, hidden by thick bushes and large rocks. This explained why, despite being a popular tourist site, it had taken days to locate him. About 30 meters from the body, Mike's rented mountain bike was found precariously perched on a rocky ledge, badly damaged. Police immediately sealed off the area, sent Mike's body for autopsy, and collected all nearby items as evidence. One peculiar detail caught investigators' attention. Although Mike's shoes and sunglasses were found near his body, he was barefoot. Even more puzzling was the fact that his backpack containing crucial items, such as his phone, laptop, GoPro camera cache, and credit cards, had vanished without a trace. One more detail that made the police suspicious was the presence of fresh, dry grass near the scene, as if it had just fallen off someone's shoes. This trace certainly did not belong to Mike, as he was found barefoot with his shoes lying some distance away from his body. The police questioned the farmer who owned the land near the isolated cliff about the origin of these grass blades. However, he insisted he knew nothing about the matter. Unsatisfied with that answer, Bernd decided to meet the farmer in person to learn more. Yet the man's evasive demeanor and constant denials only deepened Bernd's suspicions. The devastating news of Mike's sudden passing shattered his family. Despite being in unbearable pain, Bernd tried to remain composed so he could continue seeking the truth for his son. Mike's mother, Mrs. Ringle, was utterly overwhelmed by the immense loss. Back in Germany, Mike's girlfriend fell into despair upon hearing of her lover's sudden death. Mike's mysterious death quickly stirred public outrage in Malta, a place where such cases were extremely rare and drew significant attention from the German media, his homeland. The initial investigation hit a major roadblock. The GoPro camera that Mike always carried with him had vanished. Given his habit of documenting every moment of his trips, the footage on that GoPro was considered a crucial key to unraveling the mystery of his death. At the scene, the police only recovered a GoPro case along with Mike's sneakers and sunglasses. Initially, a female investigator confirmed to Bernd that she had seen the GoPro case attached to Mike's belt, and that it had been taken into evidence. However, when Bernd later checked his son's personal belongings at the Astra Hotel, the GoPro case was nowhere to be found. Just 1 day later, the female investigator and everyone involved unanimously denied ever seeing or seizing the GoPro case, insisting that no official record of it existed. This sudden change in statements left Bernd deeply frustrated and led him to suspect that the Maltese police might be covering something up. That same day, the police released a preliminary conclusion stating that Mike had died after accidentally falling from the cliff while cycling. However, this conclusion faced strong opposition from many people, as the location where Mike's body was found raised several irregularities. If Mike had truly fallen from his bike, His body should have been found at the front of the cliff. Instead, it was lying on its back, behind the edge, a position that was unlikely in a typical accident. The initial forensic report concluded that Mike did not suffer much pain before dying, as his neck had been broken in 2 places, causing almost instantaneous death. However, this conclusion was reached before an X-ray scan had been conducted, causing many to doubt its accuracy. It took an entire month before the official autopsy report was finally released. DNA testing confirmed that the body found at the foot of the Ringel Cliffs was indeed Mike Mansholt. The report also confirmed that the time of death was about 8 days before the body was discovered, matching the day Mike had left the hotel to begin his ill-fated cycling trip. However, the autopsy report revealed a shocking detail: Mike did not have a single broken bone in his body. This completely contradicted the police's initial theory that he had fallen from a height of over 30 meters. With such a fall, it would have been almost impossible for him to have no fractures at all. Furthermore, the earlier conclusion that Mike's neck had been broken in 2 places, causing instant death, now appeared baseless and highly questionable. The forensic examination of the bicycle also did not support the theory that Mike had fallen from the cliff. In addition, a female morgue employee who had personally handled Mike's body secretly met with Mr. Bernd and shared her suspicions. She believed that every detail of the case was suspicious, especially the fact that Mike had no broken bones, which completely contradicted the accident theory. She advised Mr. Bernd to proceed cautiously, as she believed the Maltese police were deliberately avoiding a deeper investigation. Mr. Bernd continued to seek out the female investigator in charge of the case, but she refused to answer any questions and actively avoided him. Shortly afterward, the Maltese police handed Mr. Bernd an old digital camera, claiming it belonged to Mike. However, Mr. Bernd immediately recognized it as an outdated Canon model, completely different from the GoPro Hero 2 his son usually used. Police also gave him a damaged memory card, saying it had been found near the scene, but Mr. Bernd insisted it did not belong to Mike. The contradictions and lack of cooperation from the Maltese police gradually eroded the family's trust. They began to suspect that something was being deliberately covered up. When Mr. Bernd asked about Mike's missing personal belongings, police gave only a careless answer, saying they might have been taken by a tourist. They also claimed to have checked Mike's phone location history, but found no useful leads. On May 17, 2016, Mike's body was returned to Germany. At the funeral home, a horrifying discovery shocked both the family and the authorities. The body weighed only 16 kilograms, was almost completely devoid of internal organs, and showed signs of abnormal collapse. Moreover, the body had not been embalmed properly and emitted a natural odor of decomposition, complicating any re-examination. The unusually light weight of the coffin during transport only reinforced suspicions of illegal tampering. The body was immediately transferred to the Hanover Medical School for examination. Results showed that all of Mike's internal organs were missing except for a few small fragments of the kidneys, spleen, and colon. Notably, there were no signs of broken bones, bruises, or soft tissue injuries, completely contradicting the theory of a 98-foot cliff fall. The Maltese side explained that the organs had been eaten by animals, but this argument was quickly dismissed by German experts due to a lack of evidence. Faced with these contradictions and signs of a cover-up, the German prosecutor's office in Oldenburg opened an investigation reclassifying the case from a disappearance to a criminal suspicion and requested the original autopsy report from Malta, but was ignored. Mike's family, through their lawyer, officially filed a complaint. Although a new autopsy was conducted in Germany, the severe decomposition meant that Mike's cause of death remained a mystery. The Maltese authorities still insisted on their original accident conclusion despite the suspicions and unusual evidence from Germany. In Malta, 3 forensic experts led by Professor Marielle Sherry, a leading specialist, had performed Mike's autopsy. However, their report caused much controversy and was strongly challenged by the German side. The professor explained that Mike's organs had been consumed by animals before the autopsy, and that his brain had melted due to heat. These explanations were deemed illogical and scientifically unfounded, as there were no signs of animal attack, and brain melting from heat had never been recorded, even in countries with temperatures exceeding 40 degrees. Furthermore, Professor Sherry's note that Mike was lying on his back when found did not match the cliff fall theory. The German side believed that Mike might have survived the fall and tried to crawl to shelter before dying. They also suspected that he might have been suffocated, as the hyoid bone, a critical piece of evidence in determining whether a victim had been restrained, had mysteriously vanished. All of these factors indicated that the original autopsy in Malta had many suspicious aspects and might have been manipulated. In November 2017, Mr. Bernd returned to Malta determined to uncover the truth about his son's death. However, he encountered indifference and a lack of cooperation from the Maltese authorities. Investigators refused to meet him, and when he requested access to the case files, he was told the presiding judge was ill. Only after seeking the intervention of a German diplomat was Mr. Bernd allowed to view the files, but he discovered that many important documents, including the initial autopsy results and crime scene photographs, had vanished without a trace. Under strong pressure from the German authorities, Malta finally reopened the investigation in early 2018. However, the conclusion of the new judge remained unchanged. Mike had died in an accidental fall from the cliff. Although German investigators believed there were still many unclear aspects of the case, they could not pursue a deeper investigation due to lack of evidence. Exhausted and frustrated by Malta's lack of cooperation, Mr. Bernd decided to stop pursuing justice for his son and focus on caring for his family. A major German newspaper also attempted to investigate the case again, but all efforts were ignored by Maltese authorities. The mysterious case of Mike Mansholt gave rise to many theories. One of them suggested that Mike might have been a victim of an organ trafficking network. According to this hypothesis, Mike could have been kidnapped, had his organs removed, and then his body staged to look like a cliff fall accident. Some believed that the Maltese authorities had discovered the truth, but deliberately covered it up to protect tourism, a key pillar of the island nation's economy. Supporters of this theory also questioned the farmer who owned the land near the cliff, due to his evasive behavior and contradictory statements. Another theory suggested that Mike was attacked by robbers, killed, and his body thrown down the cliff to stage the scene. The removal of crucial parts like the hyoid bone and brain made it easier for Maltese authorities to conclude that Mike's death was an accident. The theory that Mike took his own life received less attention, as there was no indication that he had any psychological problems. The Mike Mansholt case, despite having passed many years, still offers painful lessons about the fragility of life and the importance of justice. His mysterious case serves as a reminder of hidden shadows even in places considered safe tourist paradises. Was the silence of the Maltese authorities intended to protect the country's tourism reputation, or were there other hidden motives being concealed? More importantly, after years of loss and pain, will the Mansholt family ever find justice for their unfortunate son? And you, what do you think about the Mike Mansholt case? Share your thoughts and opinions in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel to follow more mysterious cases. Thank you very much.